Hello YouTube, it is your boy Ronan here, and today I am bringing you a Pokemon Black 2 Nuzlocke. However, this is not any ordinary Nuzlocke. I will explain the rules in just a moment, but before we start our journey, of course, we have to meet Professor Juniper and create our name and talk to our rival. Now, the rules for the challenge are a bit interesting because I am part of a YouTube group called NDFS. We create YouTube content and make funny videos. I gave my group the job to give me a bunch of different challenges to do in this said Nuzlocke. Now, the rules of the Nuzlocke are simple. We must have a level cap, so I cannot go over the level of the current gym leader. I must nickname all of my Pokemon. If a Pokemon faints, it is gone completely. Now, I've gotten a challenge from each member. So Benji gave me the challenge of I must complete this challenge within 2 days, which was the hardest part of this challenge, believe it or not. Rat King said I cannot use my starter after the second gym, which was a bit of a nuisance, but it helped us move this first part initially. Then Bilson gave me the challenge that I cannot have more than one of the same type on my team. A little annoying, but very doable. Also, Pseudo gave me a very, very hard challenge. I must catch shiny Pokemon only. However, there was a benefit. He did say I could play with increased odds, so that was my grace and savior. And Darky gave me the challenge of must catch a Pokemon of every single type. Now that the rules are clear, let's get on with the Nuzlocke. I speak to Bianca and she gives us the Pokédex and I have to choose my starter. Now, because I am not too fussed on who I'm going to be playing with, as I have to get rid of my starter after the second gym, I choose Oshawott and name him Sigma. After collecting Sigma, I then have a rival battle with Hugh, and as this is a very tedious start, after a couple of tackles, we then get the win. Slowly after doing all the tutorial, we make our way through the game, we see a dude jump off a rock, and we make our way through to the ranch, where we have another rival battle that's just as tedious. This old couple lost their dog, and while Hugh was looking hard, so was I. I was on the hunt for my first shiny Pokemon. Now, in this area, I can either get a Mareep or Riolu, which is what I really wanted. So I caught a Riolu after a little bit of time searching. We actually name her Naruto, but I ain't spending all that time looking for a male Riolu, so Naruto it is. And then after a little more searching, we did need a second team member, so I did find a Sawaddle. Oddly enough, 90% of my team on this run was female. Don't know why. After taking out all of the gym leaders' trainers, we then decided to fight Sharon. So Sharon led with Patrat and just a couple of quick attacks, let it down. Same with the Lillipup, and we pick up our first gym badge. Now, as we move forward in the story, we see Roxy, who is this town's gym leader, talking with her dad, and we decide, okay, we need another Pokemon to join our team here. After a bit of time, we found a shiny Growlithe in the grass, and we named him Akamaru for the dog in Naruto. We then go to the second gym. After beating all the trainers, we then go to fight Roxy. She leads with Coughing, and I lead with Akamaru. After spamming Flame Wheel, we then take down the Coughing, and same goes for the Whirlipede after 2 Flame Wheels, and we pick up our second gym badge. We then go to Poke Studios, which we become a movie star, and the most annoying mission. We then run into Team Plasma, talking about saving the world, or something like that. And then we decide to move to Castelia City. Now, after the second gym, as per the challenge, I do actually have to drop my Duot in there. After a bit of leveling, we then get our Lucario and our Leavanny, and then we decide to go for our next hunt. And lo and behold, I found my favorite Pokemon of all time, Sandile, and I'm so glad to add this to the team, and we name her Unohana from Bleach. We then need to continue the story, so we go down into the sewers and we verse Team Plasma. After easily wiping them out, we then run into Berg, this town's gym leader, and our rival gives us strength. Now, this is the best shiny that I've gotten in the game. I was just doing some regular leveling when I ran into a shiny Eevee. I could not believe my luck, but we will take that. We name it Kakashi, and as we've leveled up our team a bit, we then go to fight Berg. I lead with I lead with Sakura, with a Bug Bite, and then we switch into Naruto. We then go for a couple of Force Palms, and then just go for Return and finish it up with a Quick Attack. We then get our third gym badge, and it's time to progress forward. We then meet Colress with a bunch of Crustal, and we easily defeat him there. We then decided to do some leveling in the resort, and then make our way to the fourth gym city, which is Nimbasa. I then decided, okay, it's time for another shiny hunt. And then, after a little bit of searching, we found a Roselia, which is such a great shiny. The purple and the black petals is beautiful. We caught it and named it Nightshade. But then, realizing that we already have a grass Pokemon on our team, I did actually have to put it away. Then our Sandile evolved into Krokorok, and then we go to the wrong gym, and then we verse Elise. Now, she leads with Emolga, and I lead with Akamaru, and honestly, in this scenario, she's just going to keep Volt switching. So I use Flame Wheel here, I switch into Unohana so she can't use any electric type moves, and we dig to take out the Flaffy. She then switches into Zeb Striker, which I go for another dig, easily taking that one out. She then goes for Emolga, which I do stay into Unohana here. However, the Paralyze is a bit too much, so I decided to swap out into Naruto and finish up with a Return. And that picks up our fourth gym badge. And I will say, I do really like Black White 2's design of all the gym leaders. Now we go to Chargestone Cave to choose our next shiny Pokemon, and it is actually a Clink, which is quite unfortunate considering that we already have a Steel type being Lucario on our team. Also during this time, I don't know why, I decided to go for another shiny hunt. I found a Gothita, and we named it Rem from ReZero. Also, the most craziest part of my run is literally just about to happen. I clicked onto this Zeraora because they offer it, thinking, you know what, I may as well take it to see if I can get a shiny, and I could not believe it. I actually got a Zora on my first attempt. However, I did have to put it back. I then decided to verse Clay, and knowing my team, this is a bit of an easy one here. I lead with Bug Bite on Sakura, hoping to get its berry, but I forgot it does not have a berry. Then we just go for Razor Leaf Spam. And while we do have Sakura on leftovers, we are just going to be constantly healed all throughout this battle. We then go into Extra Drill, but he did a bit of too much damage for my liking, so I decided to swap out. Unohana then decides to go for Dig, however, did a bit of damage to me, so I have to switch out into Sakura. Now, we are very, very low on health here, so I do some Protect stalling and Razor Leaf, leaving me on 1 HP, but we got the win. We then did the World Tournament, which I obviously won, and then we decided to board Team Plasma's ship to help Hugh find his sister's Purloin. After this fight, we then have Gothita evolve into Gothorita, and then I figured I would test my luck and see if I could get a free shiny dealing. However, I was not as lucky as I was with the Zora. After a bit more leveling up in Chargestone Cave, I then came across my new shiny, which was a Joltik, and I actually love Joltik and Galvantula as a line, so I was more than happy to add that to the team. We did name it Shino. There was a lot of Naruto going on in this one. I had recently watched Naruto, so it was stuck in my head. We then decided to do some Ordino training, and then we decided to tackle the tower. Now, there's something annoying that's about to happen with my footage. Unfortunately, my game capture was not capturing during this time, but I did catch a Litwick and I did complete the 6th gym. However, it wasn't without casualties, because during the 6th gym, we actually lost Crocodile, Krokorok, which was a big hit because Krokorok is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and I was really hoping that it would stay for the whole run, but we can't be that lucky. But during the time, we did the Ghost Tower, we cried about Crocodile, and we mourn. But for now, we head to Undella Town. Speaking of Undella Town, I went into the room where Cynthia is in, and we did not have to fight her because she is not there till post-game, so thank God. We then decide to fight our rival Hugh. We pick up an easy KO on the Unpheasant, another easy KO on the Simisear, but he did almost kill us with a Flame Burst, so it was a bit of a rough one, so we had to switch into Shino here, which easily defeated it. We then decided, okay, we need a water type for this next section, as we do need to cross the water. Luckily, there was a Pelipper. Now, I've never been a big fan of Pelipper, but hey, in a shiny-only run, beggars can't be choosers. So we decide to switch out our Umbreon for Pelipper and level up him a bit. Now we've gotten our Soul Eater, which was our Litwick, added to the team, and we evolved it straight to Lampent. Now, I did have a Dusk Stone, so I made the executive decision just to evolve it straight away. I did not check prior if it learnt any moves before evolving, but I knew all the moves that I wanted to get, I can get before the Elite Four. So we then have our Chandelure. And then, not too long after that, our Rem evolved from Gothorita into Gothitelle, which is also a personal favorite of mine from this generation. We then get to the next town, run into Juniper and Bianca, also our rival Hugh, and then verse the Team Plasma guy again. Virizion jumped in front of us, and we then go to the 7th gym city. After that, we then decided we definitely needed a boost to our team, and I could not believe, after doing Ordino training, I ran into a shiny Gliscor. I was stunned. I sat at my desk for 5 minutes. Gliscor is in my top 5 Pokemon of all time. But now, shortly after this, I had some spare time on my hands, so I was like, okay, our team needs a serious rework. I then found an Aron, and shortly after, we've found what would be a savior of this run, and that was an Axew. Now, all the Pokemon I have collected thus far are very, very helpful to my run. I know I'm not showing absolutely everything, but there is about 15 hours of sped up footage I had to go through. But we made the decision to do some swapping around and level up our team to boost it, because that Dragon-type gym ain't no joke. After that, we then got our Fraxure and an Aggron. And then after a bit more leveling, we got our Haxorus. We are at the level cap for the Dragon gym. So, as we fight Drayden here, he leads with Druddigon, and I lead with Haxorus. After a couple of Dragon Dances, I then go for Dragon Claw once, twice, and 3 times. Easy win for us. I should say, Darky was holding a metronome, which a metronome boosts a Pokemon's moves the more times you use it. We then save the city from a big ice ship, and then Hugh tells us to meet him at the next gym city. Aquaman has just jumped out of the water, and we challenge him to a gym battle. We lead with Shino here, and we go for an immediate Volt Switch in case he goes for a Rock-type move, as he does have Sturdy. We then go for Giga Drain, and it leads Wailord. I then go for a Giga Drain again, and it goes for a Bounce. Not thinking that it would kill me here, but a Bounce critical hit my Nightshade, which was a massive loss. We then go into Shino here, which we get an easy KO on the Wailord, and then he decides to lead Jellicent, but Jellicent was toxic from the previous toxic spikes. We then swap into Darky, who then picks up an easy KO, giving us the 8th gym badge. We then progress with the story just a little bit longer, and we run into Terrakion and Colrus, who gives us a device to swap Crustle out of the way. We then have to verse the purple dude again for the 100th time, who easily got defeated, and then we go to the clearing where we have to board the ship again. After all the tedious Team Plasma puzzles, we then made our way through the Electric Gate, where he wants to verse us again, and another easy win for us. After this, we run into Colrus, and then from this battle, we don't lose any Pokemon, and it was an easy win. We then run into Getsus, who then we run into the clearing. Now, this guy has ruined so many of my Nuzlocks, it is not funny, and I'm sure it is the exact same for all of you watching. Now, we then have N come in like an absolute goat that he is with his Zekrom, and then give us a bit of saving. After a cutscene, we then have to verse the fused Kyurem. We just lead Darky, we go for one Dragon Dance and a Dragon Claw, and that's enough. Now, for Getsus. This fight, let's just see how it unfolds, hey? We then instant switch so we don't lose his ability. We then get Toxic, and then we go for a Volt Switch. However, he does protect himself because he does like to protect stall with Toxic here. We go for a Volt Switch into Naruto here. At this point, my Lucario did not have any special moves, even though it was a special attacker. I switched predicting the Earthquake would come. I then go for a Sword Stance to raise our attack, and then go for a Dragon Claw. Now, this is where it gets a little scary. I know Hydreigon can outspeed me here. So I make the executive decision to get a free switch in to Pelipper. He goes for a Crunch here, which almost KOs us. I then decide to go for a Scald. Luckily, Hydreigon missed, and it got burnt, which is huge for us. I then decided to go for a Roost, and it missed its attack again, and it's going for burn. I then decide, okay, I can go for a Fly Stall technique here, just to chip away at that damage in case he is going to potentially full restore. However, he does take out my Pelipper, but in exchange, we do take out his Hydreigon, which is a great trade. I then go for a Rock Slide on the Electros, but it is an absolute beast. I then get a free switch in to Gliscor, and we easily take him out. We then keep in Gliscor to go for one Acrobatics, which does take it out. And then he swaps into Drapion. I go for a Sky Uppercut, and he goes for a Night Slash. I think I'm safe and go for an Acrobatics. However, his Night Slash does critical hit and take out my Gliscor. We then switch into Shino here, which then we go for one Charge Beam, and unfortunately goes for a Night Slash again, which is another critical hit. I then decide to go into Lucario, which I don't know how he lived that Earthquake, but Naruto is the GOAT. I do not know how he survived that Earthquake, but after defeating Getsus and and absolutely crying about the loss of 3 of our team members, we then decide to go for our next hunt. And following this, this was the last type that we needed to catch in our run, and we named the Poloswine Ellie from Ice Age. We then catch our final team member of the run, which was a Buizel, which we named Ichigo. And then shortly after, we evolved it into Floatzel and Poloswine into Mamoswine. After making our way through Victory Road, we do have to do one final rival battle with Hugh. He leads Unpheasant and I lead Darky. I go for a Dragon Dance, raising our attack and speed, and he goes for a Swagger, which is going to increase our attack even more. He then goes for a U-turn, and feeling a bit risky, which I shouldn't have done. However, it did work in our favor as I completely outsped and one-hit the rest of his team, just picking up easy KOs for Darky before the Elite Four. Now, once our team was fully done, we had a Lucario with an Expert Belt, Haxorus with a Metronome, Chandelure with Leftovers, Gothitelle with a Quick Claw, Floatzel with a Scope Lens, and Mamoswine with a Rocky Helmet. And this was the team I decided to lead into the Elite Four with. Now, I had a strategy for absolutely every single person going in. I wanted to lead with Grimsley, as I knew that if I had this certain strategy go off, I could easily win. I'd lead with Lucario, knowing its ability is Steadfast, which means when your Pokemon is flinched, its speed gets raised. So predicting this, I got a speed raise and got some Calm Minds in, and then we go for Aura Sphere and take out the rest of his team with one shot each, picking up an easy victory for us. I then decided for my second match to go with Chantel, the Ghost User. I didn't have anything crazy of a strategy here. All I knew was if I led Darky, which was my Haxorus, then I could Dragon Dance, and then I can just Metronome down with the Dragon Claw. I knew after this hit, I would 100% be safe. Now, our attack's being raised every single time, and after this, we take out the rest of our team, leading almost to death from Driflim's Aftermath, but we pick up another easy KO with no Pokemon defeated. We then decide to go Marshall for the third Elite Four member. He leads with Throw, and I lead with Darky. After going for a couple of Dragon Dances and Dragon Claws, we then pick up the same easy win. Thank you, Darky, you go. Now we go to our final, Caitlyn. I wasn't completely worried about this, however, I could have played this a little better. I decided to go for a Will-O-Wisp on the Mashana. I don't know why, but I was thinking, okay, I can get some chip damage and go for a Confuse Ray. However, one critical hit Dream Eater was enough to take out my Chandelure. Losing a Pokemon this close to versing the champion is not great. So I then decide to go into Gothitelle and just Charge Beam up so I can one-hit the rest of her team. However, Mashana put me to sleep, which made this process a whole lot longer, and she goes for a full restore. But I think, okay, I've done enough Charge Beams and I can use Shadow Ball. I take out the Mashana and she switches into Sigilif. She then goes for a Shadow Ball, which almost kills, but I return the favor and taking her out. Now, I'm in a situation where I'm two Gothitelles, the same level, the same gender. I cannot risk this Gothitelle taking me out this early. I then go for a switch in to Ichigo, but then I immediately switch into Mamoswine here, thinking it would go for an electric move. Now, I unfortunately had to sack off my Mamoswine as I couldn't get a free switch in. But I then decide to switch into Naruto, which I then go for a couple of Calm Minds to raise our special defense and our offense. We then return a Shadow Ball and then another Shadow Ball to the Reuniclus to pick up a win. However, we are 2 team members down going into the champion, and I am not feeling it. But there is always a bright side. Now, this is a very difficult battle and one of the most intense I have ever done. She leads with Hydreigon and I lead with Darky. This can be very dangerous waters, but I decide to go for a Dragon Dance and it goes for a Dragon Pulse. I cannot go for another Dragon Dance here, so I go for a Dragon Claw, which we get an easy KO on. It leads Lapras, and I had calculated that I would KO it. However, I left it on red. I'm in a very bad spot at this point in time. So I decided, okay, I need to go all out with my offense here. So I'm going to just be Charge Beaming up and hopefully take out this Lapras. I miss a Charge Beam and it goes for an Ice Beam, and knowing full well that it will KO me on the next hit, I go for a Charge Beam, but it does take it out. I then lead Naruto and I go for a Calm Mind. This is my only way to win. Its Surf almost kills me in one hit. I go for an Aura Sphere. However, we get a saving grace of Dragon Pulse the move. We get rid of Dark Pulse and teach it Dragon Pulse. For the rest of her Dragon team, this should be an easy sweep. We use Dragon Pulse on the Druddigon, getting an easy KO. It leads Aggron, which we use Aura Sphere for another easy KO. And then it sends in Haxorus, and we then use Dragon Pulse for another easy KO. Unfortunately, it did attack first. I am down to one Pokemon, and there is only one scenario where I can make this work, and I got it. I got a freeze off on the Haxorus by using Ice Fang with Ichigo. Then it sends in Archeops, and another Saving Grace. It can kill me here. However, Archeops has an ability called Defeatist. Once its health is below halfway, it does half damage. So we got saved due to its inferior ability. And I cannot believe that that was the run. And I just want to thank you all so much if you stuck around to the end of the video. It means so much. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see another one, please leave it in the comments below. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.